we're good to go.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Kawartha Lakes Off-Road Vehicle Use of City Road Task Force. Welcome to the meeting, and I will call this meeting to order at right on 10 o'clock. I'm looking for a motion to adopt the agenda, but before I get that, I would like to recommend two additions to the agenda under probably under item number 5. We can put the petition that we received from Carrie Bartlett in there and the results of the jump-in survey. So if I can have a motion to have the agenda adopted as amended, moved by Steve Lane, seconded by Don Mitchell. All those in favor? That motion's carried. Okay. Mr. Derek Anderson has requested to do a deputation to the committee. So Mr. Anderson, you're up to bat. You're our only deputation. We'll try to keep it at 5 minutes if that's okay. And anytime you want to come online, you're welcome to do so.
Okay, well, thank you for letting me address you all today. I've got 6 points I'd like to cover today. And your email, you should now have a copy of my written points. Point 1, I want to go on record as saying I'm definitely against opening up the city of Kawartha Lakes for ATV use within the city, along with the obvious, well-documented health and safety concerns, damage to roads, impact on noise and environmental pollution, and disruption of the tranquility of the community are some of my reasons for this stand. Too many times I've ran into ORV ATV users who have no respect for other people using the trails or roads, and here are some examples. I've already submitted 2 photographic evidences of ATVs using the Legacy Trail. These were submitted to the mayor, and I'm not sure what happened after they went to the mayor. On March 27th, my wife and I went for a hike at Bailey Duff Trails. Really nice place if you ever want to go there. When we left Bailey Duff Trails, 3 ATVs pulled onto Bailey Duff Trail behind us. Now, at first, they just sort of rushed up behind me and then fell back, rushed up behind me, fell back. Then they decided, well, there's snow on the side of the road. So let's go drive through that snow. Heaven forbid they would have hit a boulder. Well, once those antics were complete, they came back on the road and drove westbound on Bailey Duff Road 3 abreast. Now, really not smart moves. The next day we were at Gray's Road and we were walking up to the Pigeon Lake Headwaters Conservation Area. But a full minute before we saw the ATVs, we heard them coming. So my wife, myself, and our border collie stepped into the ditch to let these guys go by. Well, they didn't drop a kilometer an hour. They just zoomed right by without any consideration for us. On Friday, May 14th, so just last Friday, we went to Ken Reed. On the Tuesday before, when we went to Ken Reed, we noticed that Ken Reed had spent a lot of money to grade their road to smooth it out for everybody. But on Friday, there were clear evidence of ATVs going into their property, onto their road, and doing donuts on the newly graded road. Again, just inconsiderate ATV users. This past Saturday, I was westbound on Pigeon Lake Road, about 2 kilometers from Sturgeon Lake Road, and I witnessed a mother with 2 young people, 12 to 14 years of age, riding ATVs on Pigeon Lake Road. What sort of example is that for those young people? Or is that just a way of showing young people the disrespect ATV owners have for our bylaws? Normally, you'd expect the Pareto principle to suggest that 20% of the people create 80% of the problem. Well, in my experience, what I've just described to you is 100% of what I saw. So 100% of ATV users were disrespecting what they should be doing. Having said all that, I do have a recommendation for you to consider. And I have talked to some subject material experts who didn't see any problems with my recommendation. And that is that you consider a different corridor through Lindsay. My suggestion is that you consider Logie Street to Lindsay Street, Lindsay to Mary Street, Mary to Angeline, and Angeline to Thunder Bridge Road. Now, I understand Kent and Angeline is a busy intersection, but it's protected by lights, four-way lights, which also have turn signals in all directions. And it would just be a much better route, in my opinion. It provides the opportunity for ATV, ORV users to buy gas, food, and other supplies along the route. There's no need to go off the route. It's the most direct route through town. It's the least populated route through town. If you look at that route, you'll see that probably 3/4 of it is either vacant land, commercial property. So it's not going to have a lot of people on that route.
Okay, Mr. Anderson, you're getting close to your 5 minutes. Start to wrap up, please.
Okay, enforcement will be easy because you've only got those routes to handle. And each major turn is protected by traffic lights with the exception of the Logie to Lindsay Street. I'd go to the next point. The recommendation is a 2-year program with a 1-year review. And if that's the case, then I would suggest that it be made up of a new task force, made up of a member of the Kawartha Police, the health unit, special interest group, and one ATV user. I would suggest, Mr. Dunn, you would not be included because of the biasness you've showed so far in this process. The last thing I'll point out, and you'll see the rest of them in my deputation, any road, you're saying any road would be available for use between 7 a.m. and 9:30 p.m., May 1st to November 30th. And one of the arguments you had for that was that you want the ATVs on the roads during daylight. Number one, I think you should change it to 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., May to August. You're going to have daylight. Making it 9 a.m., it takes those ATVs off the school routes because both my recommendation and your recommendation go through public schools. From September to November, I would recommend you move it down to about 7:30. This September sunset 7:50, October 6:54, November 6:02. So you don't want them in town in the daylight. That was one of your recommendations. Finally, whatever happens, I believe it has to go to a referendum at the next municipal election. I believe the residents of Lindsay who will be impacted by this decision are owed the right to say yes or no, not this task force. This task force is biased to the ATV user, and it's the residents of Lindsay that will be affected by this change. So they should be able to vote at the end. So I thank you for your time.
Time is up.
And if you have any questions, please go ahead.
Thank you. All right, can I have a motion to receive before we see for questions? Moved by Kathleen Seymour Fagan, seconded by Steve Lane. Do we have any questions for Mr. Anderson? Hearing none, all those in favor of the receipt? And that motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the list is correspondence. Actually, I got out of order there. We brought Mr. Anderson in first, but next item on the list is correspondence. We have correspondence received from Stephen Black. Can I have a motion to accept that or to receive that correspondence? Moved by Councillor Seymour Fagan, seconded by Councillor Richardson. All those in favor? That motion is carried. And I have correspondence from Ken Kerrigan. Can I have a motion to receive that? Moved by Steve Lane, seconded by Don Mitchell. All those in favor? That motion's carried. And okay, Brianne, can you put up the breakdown? First one I want to deal with is the petition that we received from Carrie Bartlett. Can we get that up on the screen? Yeah, there's over 4,000 signatures received supporting routes through Lindsay and other urban centers. Some of those, a lot of them came from outside the area, so we broke it down to Kawartha Lakes and local places. That brought it down to 1,363 for Kawartha Lakes and immediate surrounding areas. The greatest number of signatures for the inclusion of routes through Lindsay came from Lindsay at 423. The second most came from Omemee. So there is a general feeling in the Kawartha Lakes that support this through. Just wanted to get all that on the record for the viewing public, and they have an opportunity to look at that screen, and it'll be included as part of our official record. I'd like to thank Ms. Bartlett for going through the effort of collecting this, of doing this petition. It shows that across the country there's an interest in bringing greater access to ATVs into our area, which only bodes well for our economy. So can I have do I have any questions on the petition? Seeing none, can I have a motion to receive the petition? Moved by Steve Lane, seconded by I haven't got everybody, by Jason Ramsey. All those in favor? And that motion is carried. All right, next, can I have the jump in screen up? Are you working at that? There we go. This was presented as part of the report. Unfortunately, it's small. First question was, would you be in favor of council allowing ORVs on all rural roads, excluding roads deemed to be unsafe by the city staff and the task force? 78% of the respondents said yes, they would. Next screen.
Sorry, Councillor Dunn, I think I might be.
I can see your arrow moving around.
Yeah, I'm clicking. Oh, there we go.
There we go. The second screen showed that the majority of the respondents do own an ORV. Third screen, 76 are in favor of a pilot program. I think everybody believes that there's going to be hiccups in this, but let's run a program and let's see if we can't make it work. So that's why they're in favor of a pilot program. Next screen. 70% of the people that responded agreed to extending the time until 9:30 p.m. And just for the viewing public, these hours can coincide with the hours for trail use. They weren't arbitrarily made up by the task force. The trails are open from 7 o'clock till 9:30. The decision was to have the hours that people are allowed to be on the roads to access those trails have the same hours. If anybody wants to jump in at any time, please let me know and just go ahead. Next screen. The next screen is ORVs should only be permitted on city roads during the same time period as the trail system is open, which is from May the 1st to December the 1st. Numbers were lower there. 55% agree with the seasonal permission. which indicates to me that they probably want a greater, if they're going to be allowed on the trails, they want a greater access to the trails, but 55% do agree with the shortened time frame. And next screen. And 70% agree with the CATFA Association. That went through the legal department at City Hall. And although the task force thought it was a good idea that people using the city roads, because they're accessing trails, have a CATFA membership, the city has no authority to order that. So it was removed from the recommendations when they went to councils, which would have been after this survey was presented. And next screen. Would you be in favor of allowing ORVs access to all roads within the village of Bobcaygeon except for Bolton Street between Canal Street and King Street? Of the respondents, 76% are in favor of allowing ORV access on roads within Bobcaygeon. Next screen. Next screen is operation of ORVs on streets not approved in Lindsay be prohibited unless traveling directly to or from an appropriate route. Once again, that has been removed from the recommendations. This task force currently is focusing in on just the routes to get from one trailhead to the other. So that has been removed for now. It's no longer part of our discussion, but 75% agree that the operation of ORVs in Lindsay, if they're traveling directly to or from an approved route, should be approved. And next screen.
That is all. That's the presentation.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments on the presentation? I can't see everybody, so just speak up because of the screen share. Councillor Richardson?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd like to make a comment. Even when we look at the survey results here, we realize that, you know, one of the main reasons that we're pushing a trial pilot project is it's giving us an option to monitor, you know, show some accountability, where the problems are, where the successes are, the parameters that determine and evaluate and how we're going to modify if we need to modify it. So I do want to make a big point out there that, you know, this is a pilot project, and the off-road vehicle community will recognize that. And I mean, if it's not a process where it needs to be abused, people need to follow all the rules and recommendations and parameters and make this a safe transition.
Okay, thank you. And can I have a motion to receive the results of the survey? Moved by Steve Lane. Seconded by Don Mitchell. All those in favor? And that motion's carried. All right. On to the agenda. We're going to do this in two phases. We're going to run through the options for Lindsay, both that have been suggested along the way. And then we'll run through Bobcaygeon, and then at the end of the meeting, we will review the proposed routes and make recommendations to council as to which route we're going to take. I do encourage everybody to be involved in this conversation.
Councillor Dunn,
yes.
sorry to interrupt. Before we get started, did you want to do the adoption of the minutes from the previous meeting, the April 19th meeting?
We can certainly do that. Thank you. Can I have a motion to adopt the minutes from the previous meeting? Moved by Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Seymour Fagan. All those in favor? Good. Thank you. Carried. All right. Okay, I got the wrong screen up here. All right, I ran through these on on a personal basis, just to sort of get my notes in order. I did some pros and cons. I would encourage everybody, I'm sure I didn't get them all. So the first route I would like to discuss is from the trailhead at Logie Street to King Street, from King Street to Lindsay Street, from Lindsay Street to Wellington. And the reason why I'm breaking it down that way is we have options that come after we get to Wellington. So now my comments are, it's a wide street. The total overall route is the shortest route. The sidewalks are well set back from the roadway. And the distance on Logie Street is 1.3 kilometers. Traveling at 20 kilometers an hour, which is the speed limit, they will be clear of Logie Street in 4 minutes. The cons, the things I see against it, it's a residential area. Logie Street has become a busy street. I wouldn't suggest that it's overly busy in comparison to other streets, but it certainly qualifies as a busy street. And there is congestion once we move further on down at the Wellington Street Bridge. Does anybody want to comment on that? Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, the Logie Street, there's very few.
I'm sorry, Steve, your sound cut out.
I'm sorry, there's very few residential homes on that street that face the street itself. Maybe a dozen on
Okay.
Logie Street.
All right.
Max. I don't see that being an issue as such for the con.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Yes.
The only thing I would see there, and I mean, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, would be when you get onto King Street can get a little narrow because you get cars parking on both sides of the road on King. So you kind of get into a little bit of a game when you have two cars passing east and west on King. It can get a little dicey in there, only like I said, because you get the residents there rather than using their driveways or parking on both sides of the road. So I would think that having that as an option is good, but maybe not as our only route to try and push a lot of extra traffic onto King.
Okay. Now, do you think it'd be more advantageous if we move from King Street to Queen Street? Or would that just...
I think your only problem at Queen is that intersection at Queen and St. David, which is where Logie hits.
Yep.
Like Queen and Logie. If I was ever going to put a street light anywhere in the city of Kawartha Lakes, it would be there. That intersection is nuts.
All
It's
right.
hard to see because of all the
Yeah.
businesses on all four corners, and it's busy and fast with cars coming off Pigeon Lake Road and 36. They're still moving pretty good there.
So we're safer with King Street.
Yeah, I think King Street's a better option. That way you don't have people trying to make the left onto Queen.
Okay. Option number 2 is the trailhead at Logie Street. Logie Street to Lindsay Street. Lindsay Street to Wellington Street. And we'll stop there for a second. Total distance traveled using that route is 8.0 kilometers. So it is slightly longer on the overall trip, but it's slightly longer. What I've got listed in the pro column is it's a wide street. Sidewalks are set well back from the roadway. There are no homes at all facing onto Logie Street. And it's 1 kilometer of travel from the trailhead to Lindsay Street, which means it'd be about a 3-minute run at 20 kilometers an hour. The cons are it's a residential area. It's a busy street. I've had people raise concerns about the activity at Logie Street Park. Depending on how we get off of Lindsay Street, there's, once again, it would add to the congestion at the Wellington Street Bridge. Does anybody want to comment on the second Logie Street route? And I noticed we have been joined by the mayor, so thank you, Mr. Mayor, for joining. Please feel free to jump in anytime you want to jump in. All right, so does anybody have, Steve, go ahead. Sound, Steve?
Sorry, Lindsay Street from Logie Street down, you can hit gas stations, you can hit refreshments like pop and water and that.
Okay.
So I mean, that's and it's very wide. I don't see it any busier on Lindsay Street from Logie down than what we have now in Fenton Falls, especially weekends.
Good comments. Heather or Tracy?
Oh, what? I was gonna say, there's 5 traffic lights on that one, right?
Yep.
Isn't there, for traffic calming? So,
I
you know,
don't
you're
know.
stopping so you don't.
I only come up
So
with
the-
3. 4. Yeah, 4. Yeah, there is 5. Yes. you're right.
Mary,
fine.
Manel, Russell,
Yeah.
Ken.
Yeah.
So that would help with any traffic calming as well, because you're going to be going with the flow of traffic.
All right.
Just a thought, just a thought.
Yeah. The next.
Andy's waving at you.
Yes, Andy, go ahead.
Mind if I jump in? I guess my only concern with that route, and you brought it up, Mr. Chair, was Logie Street Park. I think the city's invested a lot of money in that park. It's become a very popular park for parents and kids and people traveling. A lot of people park on the road because there's not enough parking because of the popularity. We are putting bike lanes in on Logie Street. Council's already approved that on both sides to try and reduce some of the speed limit. So, you know, my concern with that would be you're adding more traffic possibly to a route where there's going to be a lot of kids running around in a park atmosphere. So I'm not sure that one, I struggle with that one a little bit. So I just wanted to put that out there. I think we need to have an area where, you know, not just from traffic, but from the motorized vehicles, we need to keep away from certain areas. And I might respectfully suggest that Logie Street Park might be one of those, but just my thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So just in relation to the park, it is, I mean, it is quite the park, that's for sure. But the one thing I did notice about it when driving by it quite often is the majority of it's fenced off from the road, and it's all quite a ways back from the road. You've got the wide sidewalk, wide boulevard, and you got a lot of space there between the roadway before you even get close to that park. And it's all covered in that armor stone. I would think other than maybe people trying to access the park, you wouldn't have any, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to even try and find that park with your ATV, right? You'd have to drive well off road. I think most of it is pretty well contained. It does have parking for, I would say there's got to be at least 40 spots in there. And it's good parking, and I would think once COVID's over, we'd be back to more of a normal park level use. Right now, I think you just have quite a few people just kind of sitting around trying to find anything to do. So it's adding to the popularity of that park.
Yeah, and I don't, if I may, Mr. Chair, I don't disagree. And I wasn't necessarily referring to kids, you know, running out from the park. I'm thinking more with the bike lanes. Parents with strollers and kids are gonna, you know, they're not gonna drive to that park if they can. They're gonna use the bike lanes. And there could be a lot of people accessing the park that, you know, that are on bikes, young kids on bikes to get to the park. So just a comment, that's all.
No, I appreciate that. No, it's a good comment. You know, there's vehicles traveling up and down that road right now, and my position has always been, you know, which is more dangerous, a Ford F-150 going at 50 kilometers an hour or an ATV going at 20 kilometers an hour. But it's a valid comment, and I certainly appreciate your input. Okay, so the next one I have on the list is, and this is as a result of Mr. Anderson's comments, is Lindsay Street to to Mary Street. Once again, the total travel distance is 8 kilometers. And that's going to be pretty consistent. And that's made up with the going a kilometer south and then coming back. That's pretty much the reason why there's the added distance. Now, some of his comments I like are quite good. It's a wide street. It's more of a commercial area. So as a result, it's less residential. When you get up to Angeline Street at Kent Street, it is the busiest intersection in the city. It is the intersection that has the greatest incidence of motor vehicle accidents in the city. And it's specifically requested by the Kawartha Lakes Police Services not to be used. There's a specific request from KLPS that area be excluded from access to ATVs. So although there are some valid points to it, that's my pros and cons that I was able to write down. Any comments? Steve?
I agree with Mr. Anderson's route. I think that we've asked some reports from the specialized departments and the police about Angeline and Kent. I can't support it. I agree it's the best route, and we did take it to council, I think, or have discussed it over the years, and it just doesn't fly when you're going through that intersection.
Okay. And Councillor Richardson?
I'd also like to just make the comment now is to thank Mr. Anderson. I mean, he had some, big concerns out there, but to come forward and offer up a route for us to look at, I think was very, very nice and a big a move on his part, I think. So very, very respected for him doing that.
Okay. Now I've broken the list down into Bs because the other part was Lindsay Street to Russell Street. And that was suggested to me. And then Russell Street over to Cambridge. So what I've got down as pros, by turning left onto Russell Street, you relieve the congestion at the Wellington Street Bridge. Otherwise, going down Lindsay Street, you cross the river 4 times. If you only have to cross it once, that does make sense to me. So I put that down as a pro, and it gives access to the downtown businesses. The con on that one is it's a busy street, but then so is Lindsay Street. Do I have any comments there?
I would think my only concern for Cambridge would be, and I mean, I don't know if it's too much of a concern, but you've got the fire and police both exit out onto Cambridge on the backside of their stations. So, I mean, it can be a busier street, like right in that area of Kent, but I mean, I agree with the suggestion, and it does open up the businesses. So for a financial impact and income for the city, I think that's probably one of the better ideas.
So would William Street be better?
I think William, you're getting back into that busy because that Queen Street Bridge, it's just pretty packed at both ends. So, I mean, I don't think it's hard to avoid anyway, but I mean, I think the Cambridge is it's a really good option because like you said, it does open up all those businesses along there too.
All right, Steve?
I like that route. It does opens up all the businesses. My concern is Wellington Street Bridge, absolutely. But I think that's a decision that council will have to make, whether they go with the Wellington Street route or go with the Russell. I agree that should be maybe something we would recommend going on Russell and cutting up some of the side streets, whether it be William, Cambridge, whatever street you want to pick.
Okay. So the next option I put down was once we're on Russell, how did we get north? Obviously, my preferred access was going up Cambridge to Peel, then Peel over to Victoria Avenue. Now, along the way, I want to have a discussion if we can. Going north, Victoria Avenue or William Street? Do we have a general consensus on one or the other?
My vote's with you on this one, Pat. I think Victoria, it's wider, it's wide open. It has a boulevard that separates the north and south traffic.
Okay. All right. No other comments that I can see? Okay, so I would be going from up Cambridge to Peel. Once again, we've stayed in the commercial area as long as we can, and that would take us over to Victoria and then go north on Victoria. Okay. So before we get to the internal part of the downtown, another route that was suggested that doesn't involve Logie Street at all was the trailhead at the Golden Mile Road to Clover Hill Road to 36, where you would cross at the traffic lights to get onto 36. 36 to King Street / Queen Street. And that would be a decision we would have to make. Then Lindsay Street to the Wellington Street, and then so on. Now, the pros are there's wide shoulders. It avoids traffic on Logie Street. Queen Street is protected by traffic lights, and that's why I put Queen Street in as part of the mix. The cons, and I've got a letter that we can maybe get Brianne to put up for us. The cons is based on the comments from the MTO. They wouldn't be in favor of crossing 7 at 36. And I base that comment on the time back in 2011, they approved it. They said yes, but they were talking about using the activity culvert to get across Highway 7. They weren't talking about crossing 7 at the traffic lights. So I read the rest of the report. The only intersection that is similar to that is Highway 7 at Angeline Street. And they said they're not in favor of crossing there. So my speculation is if they're not in favor of crossing Highway 7 at Angeline Street, they wouldn't be in favor of crossing Highway 7 it'll come at 36. If we get across, there's good wide shoulders there until you get to the bridge that crosses the other trail. I can't think of what it's called right now, but it crosses the other trail. The bridge pinches the road in really tight. Your shoulders completely disappear, and it's on a hill. So when you crest the hill, an ATV would disappear pretty quickly. And I'm not sure whether I'm comfortable with exposing an ATV to a vehicle traveling at 80 kilometers an hour where the ATV gets out of sight. Anyway, other comments? Steve?
Yeah,
Thank you. You can take that screen down, please.
yeah, Pat, the 36 highway and 7, Brian probably could maybe comment more on this, but I understand there's a project in the works right now about taking that and making that a 4 lane. So anywhere crossing over 7, I don't think in the future it'd be short-lived maybe for now, but in the future would not be as a great a thought going through.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, so.
Can I
that-
comment? Can I comment, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
This route kind of caught my attention. MTO is MTO, and sometimes they need to get their head out of their you-know-what, but, they're okay with snowmobiles crossing 35 at Thunder Bridge Road, and there are lights at Highway 36. So they've been talking about four-laning that highway for a long, long time. And, the big guy upstairs only knows when that'll actually happen. So fair enough, Steve. But at the end of the day, I think, I agree with your concerns on the bridge, Pat, or Mr. Chair. But I think this route, looks at merit. It avoids that whole Logie Street, park area, bike lane area for residential. And, I don't know. I just think it's, you've got gas stations, you've got a four-way stop up there. You've got lots of services if they come down 36 on the nice wide shoulder before they turn onto King Street. So lots of services, avoiding as much residential as you can. We are trying to find a compromise here. Recognizing that not everybody wants ATVs on the streets of Lindsay. So any kind of compromise, any kind of route we can do to minimize that, should possibly be considered. So I think that route has a little bit of merit, but just wanted to, and I appreciate the chair bringing it forward to the task force for conversation. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we've got into the downtown core. I think we've discussed William Street and Victoria Avenue. I think there is general consensus that Victoria Avenue is the preferred route. So when we get up Victoria Avenue, we've got other decisions that we want to consider. And this is based on feedback I received. One thing I want to comment is the argument against ATVs has changed, and people are actually starting to cooperate with the conversation as far as our task on the task force, which was they're helping us to identify routes and alternative routes, which originally the only conversation we could elicit was yes or no. We are starting to get some suggestions. So the Colburn Street to Angeline Street, I couldn't come up with any pros on that particular route. It's a very busy street. There are cars parked along Colburn Street, and the intersection at Colburn Street and Angeline Street is due for reconstruction this year. The next one, so then I considered turning left onto Adelaide Street and going up to, I'm just going to fire them all out at the same time. We'll just have a general discussion about them all. Turning left onto Adelaide Street and going up to Elgin Street, and then turn right onto Adelaide, left onto Elgin, and then that would take you over to Angeline. And it's been suggested that we look at running right straight up Victoria to Elgin Street, across Elgin Street to Angeline. And it's been further suggested that we continue north up to Orchard Park and run across on Orchard Park. So what I've kind of put together, my pros for Elgin Street, it's a quieter street. It's fairly wide. And when you come out on Angeline Street, you have access to the mini mall. And if you go north on Angeline Street, you have access to to Fresh Fuels, which is a restaurant. The cons are it's a predominantly residential area. Orchard Park is once again less busy than Colburn Street. It's wider than Elgin Street. Every intersection is protected by an all-way stop, and it's 1 kilometer closer to Thunder Bridge Road, which means there'd be 1 kilometer less on Angeline Street. The cons are it's a residential area. There's a school right there. which some people have raised that as being an issue. There is a school there. And it offers no amenities at all once you turn north to go up, Angeline Street. Once again, I'm looking for comments. Okay.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I think I agree with you on the Orchard Park, I think is a long way, and that's all subdivision, all the way up there. It is a wide road. It is controlled by stop signs, but I think is it Sir John Paul II, that's a big school with a big park attached to it. And we've got from the police service point of view, that road generates several traffic complaints just for cars, not, of course, not ATVs, but not obeying the stop signs along there. And just problems with kids. There's a lot of pedestrian traffic on that road because of the subdivision and the school. There's I can't remember the name, something major park. There's the big park at the school. So it might not be the best option.
Okay.
I don't think that school is fenced either.
I'm sorry?
I said, I don't think that school has a fence around it either.
Okay.
I think on the west side it does, but not on the east side of this
No.
one. Yeah. And I know there's another park just up at the end of Rogers Road. I can't remember what the name of it is, Kyle Major or something like the name eludes me, but there are a few parks right along that strip. So
Kathleen?
Yes, so, yeah, okay, I'm good. So I know with council endorsing Bob Cajun's active transportation plan, one of the things that they were looking at was bicycle routes, through residential neighborhoods, and people didn't want that. So, and so part of the active transportation plans is traffic calming. So when you're going down the street, everything is slower. And, you know, I don't think that going through a residential area is the best thing, only, well, because there are people there, there's pedestrians, there's cars, but also in the active transportation plan that EAB did for Bob Cajun, people didn't want bicycle routes through their area. So, and if we're doing an active transportation plan in the future, then, you know, that'll be added, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, okay. It doesn't matter how we go east and west. We are going to be going down. We are going to be going through a residential area. That's
No, I know that, but this route is very heavily residential and the parks and all of that. There's not a lot of commercial on this road. That's what I'm saying. At least you're, you know, and with the active transportation plan of Bob Cajun, you know, they were mixing routes, but when they were specifically going through a residential area, like this is kind of proposing, that's where they said no way.
okay. So is that as clear as mud to everybody, or do we have the options in our brains all figured out?
I like your option, Pat, of Elgin Street. I think it's a good kind of halfway. It keeps you, I mean, Elgin's, it's a residential area, but it does have a lot of long sections where there's nothing, because there's the health unit there, there's Lindsay Buick that takes up a big section of it. So it's not as heavily housed as Orchard Park.
Okay.
And it still does bring them right out at the Foxmart Esso station there, and then allows them access to fresh fuel. You're still on Angeline Street, but again, it's controlled by a stop sign. It's right by a stoplight, so it's got slower traffic there.
Okay. Steve?
I agree with Jason. I like the idea of the Elgin. It is residential. It is a wide street, and it eliminates the corner of Angeline and Coburn. I support that.
Okay. All right, so we have some options. We're going to go into Bob Cajun now as part of our discussion. Do we want to jump into Bob Cajun, or do we want to finish this off and then do them both at the same time as far as recommendations go? Okay, hearing none, we'll go right back to the agenda then, because the agenda does say that we're doing Bob Cajun next. All right. These are a little less confusing. I get probably because there's fewer options. I'd like to start off the Bob Cajun section with the question why. And a lot of the questions I'm asking are because there's people that are going to be watching this this video that are going to ask the question, and if we explain it here, they'll have a better understanding of why we're talking about routes through Bob Cajun. So there was 2 routes proposed to me. There was one I'm going to call the southern approach to Bob Cajun, where the recommendation is to come up City Road 17, Pigeon Lake Road from Old Surrey Lane to 36, and then 36 to the municipal boundary. So that's basically running up the side. The rationale from Old Surrey Lane that was provided to me was that's north of the entrance to Victoria Park. Victoria Park? What's that large, I'm going to call it a gated community, but it's not gated. What's that large? Victoria Place, thank you. All right. So it doesn't have an impact on Victoria Place, but it does permit access for the trailer parks along the way to the road. So can somebody explain to me, and either I've got 3, okay, why we want a trail there, or why we want an access there? Kathleen?
I actually don't. I don't think it's a good idea right now because we've had a lot of accidents in that area. And right now we're waiting for the police to give us their report. Their system is down, their main system that they're using for these reports that they do as to the reasons why the accidents are caused. Even, I was over at someone's house the other day, and we heard an accident, and it was in that area. So I would prefer right now that we leave that, because there's corners, there's issues with speeding. It's just not a safe area for adding more traffic into it at this point. That's too far back, and it's right on too many bends.
Okay.
If we were to do it, we'd have to push it further to the next trailer park, but I don't know if that helps. But currently, right now, there's no way I want it near Old Surrey Lane. It's not safe.
Any other comments?
We're
Go ahead, Steve.
talking, I understand the highway speed is 80, which would mean they would be going 50. We're looking at shoulders of the road. The shoulders are really wide there along 17. From what I lived right there, I don't know. I looked at it and I thought it was wide enough to accommodate. And going into Bob Cajun, you go to a reduced speed of 20 kilometers an hour, because once you get going up the hill by Pinecrest, it reverts down to a lower speed along there. I don't know if it's gone past the dairy now, where the city limits are for Bob Cajun, or what.
The 60 zone starts right there at the intersection where Pigeon Lake Road and 36 join. That's where it drops down to 60, and the 50 is well into Bob Cajun before you hit the 50 zone. Mm-hmm. The dairy would be still in the 60 zone, for example.
So it would be 20 kilometers an hour along that stretch, and you would be on the shoulders, because okay, I believe they're wide enough for that.
That's not really my issue, that area. It is the specific area where the bends, where the accidents have been happening, and the cars are going off the road. So it's closer to where these trailer parks are, at the bottom of Pigeon Lake Road. So you're coming down from Old Surrey Lane, going down there's, I think, 2 curves there. And the cars are going off the road, and it's not just once. It's quite frequent.
You're recommending that we defer it for now?
I think so. I think that we should, because we don't even have the information back from the police as the cause of any of the accidents. So Jason might know.
Okay, Jason, go ahead.
I don't know the cause. I agree that is kind of a questionable area there with those two 90-degree bends in the road, but I'm just wondering, I haven't looked too much at it and I'm not super familiar, although it's just up the road from my house. Would Ranch Road be an option? Because that would avoid those two corners, avoid that whole section by all the campgrounds. And it's mostly farms along Ranch and not too many houses all the way up to 36. So I know it's not nearly used as much as 17, and you could just take it and bypass all of 17 and go straight up Ranch onto 36, and you're only a couple of 100 meters west of where 17 meets 36.
Yeah, I know Ranch. Yeah, and it's not a very busy road. It's quite a quiet road. And there's not that many homes along there. I'm wondering how they would get from the trailer park to Ranch. That's all. Just trying to think the way that we could do that. I wish we had maps.
I was just going to say,
there's a gravel pit and stuff right in between. I don't think they would have to travel that short section of 17.
Tracy?
I was going to say, maybe Brian's able to pull up a map so we can have a visual.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Now, I don't know, does Ranch go all the way down? And I can't scroll the map even though I'm trying. Does
Yeah.
Ranch go all the way down to 24? No,
No,
it doesn't. Okay, all right.
no. But like, is that, see if you're looking a little, I guess that's north because I'm directionally challenged from Pigeon Lake. That next road up, does that go all the way through? Like the one just north of Lachlan Lane, north or whatever that way is. See Lachlan Lane, you go further, like towards the top of the map, kind of on Pigeon Lake. Oh, well, that road right there, is that all the way through? Right by Manitou and Lachlan, but to the left of there, like, can you get all the way through there to Ranch Road? Yes,
Here? No.
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah,
No.
so this is Victoria Place, the subdivision you're talking about. This is Pigeon Lake Road. Ranch Road starts off at the tangent of Pigeon Lake Road before it makes the turn.
Yeah.
Ranch Road then runs parallel with Pigeon Lake Road up to 36, like was mentioned before, and then would run around. Your 60K zone starts right here at the bend on 36 at Pigeon Lake Road, like was mentioned earlier as well. So there is no tie between Pigeon Lake and Ranch Road east-west other than Pigeon Lake Road and Road 36. If that
I believe
helps.
the 60 zone starts at the causeway on Pigeon Lake Road.
Yeah, we reduced it.
Yeah,
You're
so
right.
the
Yeah,
60
Pigeon Lake
zone
Road.
right
Yeah,
here.
I'm talking on 36.
Yeah,
So when you
36.
come in 36, it starts right here, 60 into town. So it's an 80 zone across to that intersection.
Okay.
Steve?
If we, Kathleen's concern is Old Surrey by Victoria Place, is that correct?
Yes. Is that band down at the bottom? See right
Yeah.
where the number
Yeah.
17, yeah, right
Yeah,
there.
I
Right.
see that. So why don't we put it and allow those trailer parks, which are north of Old Surrey, allow it to start there. Lonesome Pine, I believe, is the first park or one of the first parks there along the lake.
Yes,
And
you're
that's, why don't we go there and have it start there at this time?
well, I think the issue was, see, those are the ones that people want access to, but we can't have this right now, not with all the issues that have gone on. So we can't have any of those guys having access because of the issues on 17. Yeah, Lonesome Pine is further up towards 36.
It's right after the 90, is it not, Kathleen?
No, Lilac Lodge is.
That's
No, it's
Lonesome Pine right there, isn't it?
No, that's Lilac Lodge and something else.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a trailer park. Brian's got it right there. I think that's trailer park, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah, Lonesome Pine is further down. That's
Yeah.
south of Colony Road.
Well,
Yes.
Lilac would want access to it, would it not? It would be after the 290s that you're concerned about right now.
No, I don't want anything near those bends. This trailer park here, I don't know, I don't remember the name of it. I think it's Lonesome Pine. This one right here.
Yep.
Lonesome Pine is south of Colony. So there's 2 trailer parks in that area. That's Lilac Lodge and Green Acres. They're
Yes,
right
and we don't
beside
want
each other. Yeah.
Yeah, those, yeah, Jason's
Those
right.
are those 2 there.
Yeah.
So
That's
your
Lilac
only
Lodge.
way to do it would maybe if you could get
Right there.
somehow access through the 2 trailer parks to maybe come out of the Green Acres exit, which is further up the road, avoiding that whole section. But I don't know if that's doable. I've never been in either park.
So those 2 parks have been purchased by one corporation. So maybe in the future, they can figure out a way how to do that. So they're not touching the bend and they're coming out closer to Lachlan Lane, if that's how they're going to do it. But right now, I don't think it's a good idea to touch that area. Further up, if we wanted to try something, it would be to allow it come from Lonesome Pine into town.
Okay, so we're going to be going over rural routes during the summer months to make recommendations in September to City Council. Do we
Yes.
want to defer this part until September?
I think so. But that's
All right. I can only see half. So if anybody else has got anything they want to jump in with, please do so.
Pat, I do want to flag one thing.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
Brian.
Hold on. I've got. Go ahead, Andy.
I'll let Brian go ahead. That's fair, Mr. Chair. I'll talk after him.
Okay.
Apologies, I was still on the other screen, so I couldn't see who people had hands up. I do want to flag one thing with respect to accessing. I know that the general consensus is to get through Bobcaygeon access to the 5-point trail system and those other trails up northeast of Bobcaygeon. The 2 roads leaving Bobcaygeon, being Court Road 49 and County Road 36, are both, well, 36, as soon as it leaves Bobcaygeon, is actually a Peterborough County road. Road 49 is a boundary road shared with Peterborough County. At this time, Peterborough County does not have permission for use of ORVs on their road networks. So both roads leaving Bobcaygeon heading towards those 5-point systems do not permit ORV use. It would, I think the Peterborough County has received direction to review their master plans, their transportation master plan, to consider that use in the future. But it would require negotiations and approval from Peterborough County Council to allow that use. Just wanted to flag that for the task force.
County Council last night, so you probably don't know this yet, removed ATV use from their transportation master plan, and they're going to deal with it separately because the transportation master plan is not due until 2022, and they want to move it forward. So at their county council meeting, they severed it from the plan, and they're going to deal with it. I'm assuming if they took it out that they're not prepared to wait to 22, so they want to come up with a decision. So now what the decision is, I have no idea because they didn't give any indication of what it was, but it's no longer tied to the transportation master plan.
Fair enough.
Brianna, can you let Kathleen back in?
Okay.
Yeah, and to your point too, Pat, I think what's happened too over that neck of the woods too is Selwyn's opened up, Autonomy South Monaghan's opened up, and so yeah, they're reviewing everything, and they're supposed to have a report come back June 30th.
Okay. I got Steve up next.
I agree with you, 49, Brian, as you were saying, 49 is not open up on the right-hand side of Peterborough County. And just past the dump on 36 Highway, it's not opened up going towards Trent Lakes. Peterborough County back in the day were willing to address looking at that. And I would suggest that they will open that wide open, especially because City of Kawartha Lakes has it to the west of 49 open right now.
Okay, I've lost track. Mayor Latham?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to give my opinion, if I can, to the task force and maybe ask for some rationale, because I have to admit, I'm going to say this at the risk of alienating my friend Kathleen. I don't understand the need to have these routes into Bobcaygeon, and I'm really struggling with it. You're talking about accommodating trailer parks that want to access, maybe not now, but later on. Obviously, they got to their trailer park with their ATV, so they have a trailer. This process was supposed to be about trail linkage. How do we access roads to trail linkage? There are no trails in this area. You know, Bobcaygeon is Bobcaygeon, and the route, I get that Peterborough County might open up to allow access over to 5 Points. I understand that rationale, but I'm really struggling with the need to allow access through Bobcaygeon. I'm not buying the economic benefit of it. Bobcaygeon is such a pretty little village. We've got new docks going in at Beach Park that's going to allow way more access to people on boats that they have now in the summer months. You've got a route I see here up to Highway 8 through Bobcaygeon, and yet once you read Highway 8, there are no approved routes in that area of Kawartha Lakes that they can go from there. So I guess I know what we're trying to do, and I know what you're trying to do, and the Lindsay one makes sense to me. We're linking some trail linkage. There is a rationale there, but I'm really struggling with why the task force and even our council and some residents are feeling the need to open up some of these road routes through Bobcaygeon, and at this point, with nowhere else to go. You know, the concept that they're gonna go have lunch if they have an ATV, but they're not gonna have lunch if they don't. It doesn't make, I have an ATV. I ride the trails, I enjoy them. Like I said, the linkage through Lindsay makes sense to me. Some road access to help with some of those trail makes sense to me, but I'm really struggling with the need at this time to start proposing routes into Bobcaygeon. So I'm just putting it out there that if somebody has some rationale, they can convince me otherwise, but I'm just not seeing it at this point. So thanks for letting me ramble, Mr. Chair.
No, that's fine. I've got Steve Lane and then I've got Kathleen.
Thank you, Pat. County Road 8's been open up for about 14 years, 13 years, something like that. And north of County Road 8 has been opened up. So people are actually using County Road 8 coming into towards Bobcaygeon. I've seen them. I lived there for many years, grew up there. They want to get into Bobcaygeon. They want to be able to get into the restaurants, the fuel, and so on and so forth. I agree that the access over the Bridge of Heroes to the Jug City up 49 and out 36 is a future plan. But right now in Bobcaygeon coming into 8, going down Joseph Street and coming into Bobcaygeon is where the people want to do. We definitely need the tourism in Bobcaygeon. Felon's been enjoying it for many years. I was a resident there. My parents owned a resort there, and parking is an issue. It's very problematic in Bobcaygeon. There's only accesses to the beach down by the fairgrounds for parking for trailers and that, or at resorts and accessing going to the trail. Once you get it going out County Road 8 up Joseph to County Road 8, you can go virtually anywhere on north of 8 and hit the VRTC going through third line of Somerville, going right through. We need to have Bobcaygeon open.
Okay, Kathleen?
Yes, thank you. So I understand why some people don't want it. I understand why some people do want it. The access to the commercial businesses, it's not just restaurants. This is a economic driver for many areas. So it's accommodation. And I don't know if anyone's aware of how difficult it is right now for our accommodation to survive. Not only do they have Airbnbs, but they have COVID. With these protocols that they have to do, they're way reduced at like less than 50%. People aren't booking into the hotels because they're preferring to stay at Airbnbs. I know personally, because actually Tracy just sent me, I guess it was a post on some social media about Bob Cajun Inn. You know, an area like that, even if we brought them they're into the inn and then they're back out because they can access 8. They don't even have to go downtown onto the Bolton Street area unless they want to park and walk into the area. So they can park at the Bob Cajun Inn. Or, you know, there's other motels all along the water that soon as, September 5th or whatever Labor Day is, they're down to their capacity. I mean, they're empty again. So this is a shoulder season initiative. You know, some people enjoy it. Some people don't. Some people like to walk. Some people don't. You know, I think that we're being very closed-minded sometimes. I think that we all have to work together on stuff. And I also, you know, I understand that people move up to Bob Cajun for peace and quiet, but they're also moving to a tourist town and they need to acknowledge that. This is a tourism town. If tourism doesn't exist, the beautiful shops do not exist. 90% of the business is done by tourism and residents who don't live here on the Main Street shops. I had a business just tell me that in the last 3 weeks since they've been open, 85% of the phone numbers that come and are purchasing from them are not 705. They're 416, 647, and 905. So this is what we have to look at, because we cannot sustain these beautiful little areas based on people who live here and want the peace and quiet. I'm not saying that ATVs are going to be crazy and noisy and all this. They'll come into town, they can stay at the accommodation, and then they can leave to go up to the trails. So, you know, if we don't even have the Bolton area, that's fine, but allow them to have access to some restaurants and accommodation. We have to work together. I'm really tired of this them and us, because it's constant. It's constant. And yeah, I don't see why we can't allow people to come and use our facilities in the off season when, you know, the businesses need this. And if Tracy can, because I didn't have my glasses on, so I didn't see the post, but she did say something, the Bob Cajun Inn had put something up. So Tracy, if you could maybe like, you either send it to me or acknowledge what they put up.
Okay, then one more. We're getting back into the discussion about ATVs, whether we want them or not. I'm going to try and get us back into focusing on routes, but we'll take a couple more comments and then we'll try to get back on routes again. So Tracy, did you have your hand up that you were going to speak?
Well, I was going to speak to the post that I found regarding Bob Cajun. And it was from the Bob Cajun Inn Waterfront. And he says, as we look forward to June 2nd, we created this chart to help provide people waiting in line less frequently. The chart typically shows busy times on the patio whenever it's sunny. By avoiding these rush times, you lessen the potential for a wait for a seat. Just a bit of inside information for our closest customers. Hopefully we can all ATV here soon. Okay. So, I mean, it's not just, and the thing I think, a big point about this, I mean, Bill 107 was brought to the province. It took them 18 months to, you know, bring it to the table. And a couple of key factors were the fact that they were recognizing that off-road vehicles are growing. They're growing. The dealerships are sold out. There's a big component about it is regarding tourism. And, you know, and Kathleen's right, it's these shoulder seasons. Small businesses have been significantly hurt in the last, you know, year and a half, and it's still here. It's still in effect. But we are a small business community, and you know what? When our community needs the small businesses for fundraising and for sponsorship, the first places they go to is small business. So yes, I have to recognize that tourism is a big part of what we're trying to do today. So that's basically my comments.
So, did you have a final comment you wanted to make, Mr. Mayor? Yep.
Sorry, I meant, no, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so my question is the southern approach to Bob Cajun. That's the one coming up Pigeon Lake Road. Do we want to defer it, or does somebody want to offer an alternative, or do you want to keep on that discussion and we'll make a decision when we decide on routes? That was, okay, so I got the impression that we wanted to defer the southern approach to Bob Cajun until probably September, when we can have greater opportunity to have that discussion. Is that where we are? Kathleen?
Well, if we were going to do the whole area, yes, for sure, because I don't think it should be done right now, because we haven't had any information back from the police, and I don't think that's safe.
So do I have consensus for now that we're going to defer that issue until September? All right. Okay. Yes, go ahead, Steve.
Are we talking 17, coming in 17, or are we talking everything coming in?
No, we're just talking 17.
Okay.
All right. We haven't got the other portion. I just wanted to get the 17 portion out of the way so we could talk about the 24 portion. Everyone's good? All right. Bob Cajun proper. Now, I think Brianne or Brian will be able to have a map. I'm going to run through the various scenarios because at council it was confusing the way I presented it because I hadn't wrapped my brain around it. So coming in off of 36, not counting 36, but coming in off of 36, County Road 4, City Road 4 to Sherwood Street. That's a T intersection. So the first recommendation is you turn from Sherwood, you turn right, and you go on to King Street to County Road or City Road 36. Second option is you turn left on Sherwood Street to Canal Street to the bridge. The bridge, you go across the bridge to Main Street to Joseph to City Road 36. So those are the, and I lost one. Where'd it go? Oh yeah, the other one is you can also continue down Canal Street to Boyd Street and Boyd Street to 36.
Yeah.
So there's three, we're looking at three potential routes. Now, my rationale is, and I'm not an ATVer, so I don't know. 20 kilometers to me doesn't sound like a long distance. It's 20 kilometers from Bob Cajun to the North Line Road where you can hook into the trail. So I see this
Can you get me
as a valid option. And I'll throw the floor for discussion. Okay. I can't see everybody's hand. So, okay, maybe somebody just speak up if you want to speak on this. Steve?
If we come in Bob Cajun on 24 and we hit Sherwood, and then we could turn right and go up onto King, turning left and hit 36 highway, that gets us in that route. And also going in 24, coming into Sherwood and then going around to Canal Street. And that gets us to the swing bridge, which will take us right up Main to Joseph, up through to 8, and it goes right up 8, and we go north anywhere there. That gets us Bob Cajun. It also addresses the shoulder months or any time for tourism. I mean, we had the Rockland House in Bob Cajun, Buckeye, the Bob Cajun Inn, the Fairgrounds trailer park, it meets a lot of that access right there going through, and they can connect to the trailheads. And I think that's the big thing. We want to have a place where they can park. So they need to park at the tourism venues and go out from there. Because I mean, there's very, very minimum parking in Bobcaygeon.
Okay. As I said, I can only see half the floor here. So does anybody else want to jump in? Kathleen, go ahead. I haven't got sound, Kathleen.
I'm on my phone. I need to get on my iPad so I can see everybody. So if Brianne can hear me, she needs to let me in on the other device.
Okay.
I don't want this route. This is going by the park, and I don't think that this is a good idea. Let me get up here.
I do not think this is a good idea. The park is being developed right now. It's narrow there. There's no shoulder. I don't know how long the park project's going to go on. And where are they coming from 24? I live off of 24. I don't ATV, so it's, you know, it doesn't matter to me either way. But I don't know why we would do that, because I don't know where they're coming from. Because then they're coming across a bridge, and then they're coming onto Park Street, which is narrow. We've dropped that down to 40, so it'd be 20. And where the park is being done right now, it's heavily trafficked as it is. And there's cars also parking on the side of the road. There was three there today because of the park project. So I just don't think that this is a good idea right now. Maybe when the park is done, we can look at it, but it's not really the right place or time right now.
Okay. So essentially, we're not asking for any routes through Bobcaygeon.
No, I think that we should. I think that we should look at bringing from 36, even if we, you know, if we look at the one from 17 from the closer trailer park, or to bring them down in from the 5 Points Trail or from the summer or from north of 8, so that they can access the business. They can come and they can ATV for the weekend, put their ATV at the Bobcaygeon Inn or at any of the motels, the New Rockland or whatever it is, and then they can get out. So we need to, you know, we've taken away all the other access to Bobcaygeon. This is specifically for tourism and commercial. This is not so people can drive everywhere. We've taken into account everyone's thoughts on this. But again, we have to accommodate more than just one group. We've taken away 99% of this. I think that we should be able to allow them to come into the town, access the businesses, specifically accommodation, gas, and I don't know what else they do, grocery, I don't know, and restaurants.
So okay, just give me some routes, Kathleen.
So
how do you want to get them into town? You've told me you don't want them coming up 36, and now you're telling me you don't want them coming up 24.
No, I don't. I don't want them because 24 you can't. So okay. I would prefer that they come down, that if they want to come into town, they can come down, or they can be in town because they've trailered there. And then they can get out to the Bass Lake Road, the 5 Points area, or north of 8 and get up that way, up to the Somerville trails. So Steve, you might need to help me out on this a little bit, just because you know it a little better with the names of the streets. I don't know if we'd come in on Ann Street, go down to Front Street, and that would hit the Bobcaygeon Inn, and then you'd go back up Joseph Street to 8, and then you can access.
If you can hit 36 and come in 36.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to have 24, Kathleen. I understand your concern about the beach park, but that's only a short 200 feet of area here, 200 yards. They have a trailer park in at the fairgrounds, and they want to be accessing from the fairgrounds parking. And also because parking is at a premium or a minimum, in Bob Cajun, they need to be able to park at the arena and drop a trailer and be able to go if they come into Bob Cajun and be able to go to the trailheads. I can't see you not having 24. I understand that. Front Street is, I understand going in Front Street, there's resorts there, there's the Gordon's Boat Works and places like that. It used to be a marina down to the west on Front. I don't know if it's active there now or not, but yeah, but it's really narrow streets there, those two there on Front Street. I don't think you would want to put them there right at this present time. I mean, once we get through Bob Cajun coming in 24 or 36 and going up 8 to hit the trailhead, yes. But I mean, 49 is not available to us right now. 36 Highway North or east of Bob Cajun isn't available to us either, past the dump. We just haven't got access there because it's county roads. That doesn't mean county's not going to go for it. I mean, I agree. I think they will. When we went 15 years ago to county, we asked for too much at county, and they weren't prepared to open up what we asked for, because we did ask for a lot from county. And I just didn't have the time, or association didn't have the time to go forward to county to get that open. So we don't have that northern east section to look at. We only got Joseph, Main Street, Joseph, up into County Road 8 to hit the trailhead right now. But
Okay.
we definitely need 24.
All right, so getting back to the routes, are we deferring the routes till September so we can have a more in-depth discussion? Or are we pushing forward with them?
Well, I disagree on 24. So if we're not going to agree on that, then we defer it. But I don't see about being able to come in, if it's coming in down, down Main Street or Joseph Street, to access the commercial area, specifically that one area of town, the Rokeby area.
Oh, okay.
Maybe that's what we need to do, and
So
to
you'd be
allow
suggesting-
one.
You'd be suggesting our access route is 36 to King Street and County Road 8 to Joseph Street and Main Street? Is that what we're suggesting?
That's what I'm thinking, because Steve,
All right, that's fine.
well,
right.
Steve, you want the trailer park. You said that there's a lot of people in the trailer park who want to access it. So they'd have to come out from King and they'd have to go on 36. They do anyhow. They're doing it anyhow. So if they went out, if they do it on 30 and they go out to King to 36, right? So then they have access to the trails. So then we've got the one trailer park, but there's no reason to go on 24 or Park Street right now. You know, I don't know. I've never seen them. And we've got a multi-use trail that's busy along there.
All right.
Bikers. So I don't want to touch 20 bicyclists.
All right. So what I'm gonna suggest is we're gonna go back and we're gonna make recommendations for Lindsay. We're gonna get the recommendations for Lindsay complete.
Mhm.
While we're doing that, you and Steve on a piece of paper, whatever, if you have a recommendation for Bob Cajun, because it'll take us time to finish off Lindsay. Then when we get to Bob Cajun, please bring those recommendations forward.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So everybody's good. Do we need to take a 5-minute break? Everyone's okay. All right. So Lindsay routes. I'm going to start off for conversation's sake. I'm going to recommend, and then somebody else is going to have to take control, take charge. I'm going to recommend Logie Street to King Street to Lindsay Street to Wellington, Wellington to Victoria, Victoria to Elgin Street, Elgin to Angeline, Angeline to Thunderbridge Road, and Thunderbridge Road to the trailhead. Do we have a discussion on that? Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, my stance has kind of been the same since the very beginning. I completely agree. The only thing I would add would be, rather than putting all that traffic onto the one route, just make two route options that are like we discussed a while ago. So basically Logie south to Lindsay, Lindsay to Russell, and then Russell up. And I mean, that would, or off of Russell, then go north on Victoria. That would eliminate the congestion at the bridge, whether it be Victoria or Cambridge up to Elgin, whichever we choose. But just having that second route option, so you didn't have everybody on one route, and you open up some more businesses as they travel by.
I fully agree with that thought. Well, I think we have to do them one at a time, and then when it gets to council, we'll pitch the various routes and see where see what council agrees to. Okay, go ahead, Steve.
Let's keep our routes that we were talking about originally in the task force recommendations, with the elimination of that corner at Angeline and Coburn Street, going up Elgin and going over to Angeline through Russell Street, going up through to Victoria Avenue and hitting Elgin, and going to Angeline out to Thunder Bridge Road. But also give them the recommendation that it could go across the Wellington Street Bridge in the other northern portion of Logie.
So we're going to deal with them. I was just trying to deal with them individually. Are we going to deal with them simultaneously? Is that what the plan is?
I mean, if we're going to put them forward, I think we may as well put them together.
Okay. All right. So does everybody understand where we are now? And I'll run it through. Logie Street to King Street, King Street to Lindsay Street, Lindsay Street to Wellington, Wellington to Victoria, Victoria to Elgin, Elgin to Angeline, Angeline to Thunderbridge Road, Thunderbridge Road to the trailhead. Logie Street to Lindsay Street, Lindsay Street to Russell Street, Russell Street to Cambridge, Cambridge to Peel, Peel to Victoria, Victoria to Elgin, and so on. Is that the first motion you want to put forward? Then can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Steve Lane, seconded by Kathleen Seymour Fagan. Any discussion on that route? Hearing none, all in favor of that route? Okay. The Mary Street option. Is there any interest in pursuing that after hearing what we've heard?
I think the Mary Street, although it is, I think it travels by some pretty high population areas without even really thinking of it. You've got basically Fleming College right there at Albert, like all the parking, everything for Fleming College is right at Albert Street and Mary. You've got the main entrance at the bottom of Adelaide that runs into the arena and the pool, and then the Aux Center. And then once you get onto Angeline, you've got public schools, the hospital, the plaza. I think it's just entirely too busy up Angeline, and you're traveling through a lot of areas where you're going to face a lot of opposition, right? You've got the public school, you've got the hospital, just areas, and the intersection of Angeline and Kent. I think you're just asking for problems on that route.
Okay, go ahead, Steve.
Angeline and Kent is the key there. I don't see the route being a problem other than Angeline and Kent, so I don't support that.
Okay. All right, third option. Golden Mile Road to Clover Hill, Clover Hill to 36, 36 to Queen Street. And I did choose Queen Street simply because it's protected by traffic lights. One of the rationale for not going on to Queen Street before was that it was hard to turn off of Logie Street onto Queen Street. But if we're coming at a set of traffic lights, it now does open that option to us. Queen Street to Wellington and cross the bridge, Victoria, etc. Does the committee have any interest, after hearing all the discussion on that, in moving that motion forward? Go ahead, Steve.
I think that's a short-term solution. I agree, but with that 4-lane that they're talking about, making changes at 36 and 7, I think that's only short-term.
Jason?
I was just going to say, I mean, I'm always in favor of, you know, a couple of options. That way you give people options, and if they want to avoid the city entirely, they can, right? Like, or avoid sections of it. So I don't know how it works. Obviously it's not my main job there, but how it works in council, can you put forward those options to say that
Absolutely.
they could do the Logie Street to Lindsay, Logie up to thing,
Okay.
and they could just bypass the whole area in general by taking this other route that will
Okay.
eventually join up with the first two.
And that's exactly what's going to happen. What's going to happen at the end of the meeting, I am making furious notes. I'm going to submit a memo for, I have to do it by tomorrow because tomorrow is the cutoff date for submitting memos to get them on the COW agenda for the 1st of June. So I will be doing it by tomorrow. And I can certainly include it as one of the recommendations. It doesn't mean that we have to support it, but we think it's a viable recommendation. So if it's the wish of the committee, I will certainly put that on the list. Is it your wish? Okay, go ahead, Nan.
I think it is a viable. I think it should be put on the list for council to have a choice.
Okay, all right.
I'm agreeing as well. It's, you know, it's a viable option, so it's a good point to, we can have some discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to put that in my memo when I submit my memo to council. Okay, that's the Lindsay options done. So we've got 3 options going forward to the committee of the whole for discussion. Are we ready to do Bob Cajun? All right, Kathleen.
Okay, so I want to be able to get them to access accommodation and restaurants to the commercial area. I do not know which way is the best way. If it's in down Main Street to Joseph Street to that's Front Street, I guess, or Main Street. It's confusing to change the names. So down that way, because they'll be coming from the 5 Points area, or they'll be staying at one of the accommodations and then heading up that way. So that's what I'm wondering. I do not know what the best, I don't know what roads are open, what roads aren't, once you hit up there. So I don't know if they can come down Main Street from 49. Is that how it would work? Steve, do you know?
Yeah, Kathleen, I support you, what you're saying. I mean, you've been a very big supporter of the tourism factor in Bob Cajun, and we both agree on it. I think what we're looking at right now is the park area on 24. If we postpone that to bring it back in the fall, Pat, I think that's a viable option, because that park will be complete with the issue there. So we're basically looking at a northern access point coming in 8 down Joseph to Main and hitting the downtown core. And also we can hit Canal Street to 36 and also King Street. We can hit those. I mean, I agree with you, Kathleen, on that. I think you need King Street and Canal Street to access 36, because we have had some businesses that have sent petitions in and letters in to support it. The grocery store on Highway 36, they want it. We've heard from them. We've heard from the Bob Cajun Inn. So I think a northern approach right now, and then in the fall, bring out 24, and then maybe flesh out that 17 approach coming into on 36.
All right, so can I give you some suggestions as far as actual names of roads?
Yeah.
All right. 36, Peterborough County Line 36 to King Street. 649, I think, is already covered, but if not, it would be covered because that'll get you down to 649.
Yes.
Okay. King Street to Sherwood.
No, you'd want to go further to hit the arena and the trailer park. So it would be going to right, I think it's Mansfield. Right there.
Mansfield.
Because if that's where the arena is and that's where the trailer park is.
Yes, yeah, Mansfield, yeah.
Okay, all right. So
Yep.
King Street to Mansfield.
Mhm.
Mansfield to
Nowhere.
Mansfield.
oh no, okay. Then King Street to Sherwood, Sherwood to Canal.
Yep.
And then so on and so forth. So it's blocking the area off, but the only access is going to be off of County Road 8 or City Road 8 and City Road 49 and City Road 36.
Or should we even just push them back down on King Street? And then push them back to, instead of coming along Sherwood, because that's very busy there. And it's congested and there's parks and I don't know, I'm not quite sure about right there, or just push them back onto King Street, which is the street's fixed up. It's much safer. Whereas Canal Street's a bit of a mess in that corner there near the bridge. So I don't know if we could just push them back onto King and then they could go down William Street, which is the back of the grocery store and a couple residential places, and then onto Canal, but then that accesses any parking in on Bolton.
All right. So we're going to go King Street to Manfirst, including Mansfield, including Mansfield. We're going to go King Street to William to Canal across the bridge to Joseph, etc.
Yes.
I think we need,
Go ahead, Steve.
if we're starting from the fairgrounds, that's Mansfield to King Street. I would suggest go up Sherwood, Kathleen, and hit Canal, and then you can go right there. There's a controlled intersection at the bridge. You can hit the New Rockland. You can hit Buckeye, Marine. You can hit Resort, the Buckeye.
Yeah.
There's some bed and breakfasts along there between the bridges. And go out Main to Joseph and up Joseph to 8. And come in from the Jug City right down Main Street, right down to the bridges at Bob Cajun Inn.
Okay, that makes sense to me. I was only thinking that if they can't cross the bridge because we don't know yet.
Is the bridge not controlled by the city? Like they plow it, they do all sorts of stuff. I understand it's a Trent Severn waterway, but I don't think that's an issue. I mean, we go across many bridges. I don't think that's an issue. I don't know if we should put that as a roadblock, that swing bridge or not. I don't think it should be. I think it's maintained for plowing purposes. And the village, it's plowed by the city of Fourth Lakes, is it not?
All right, so the city hasn't, okay, so Trent Severn Waterways has not got back to us, but with the last conversation we had with them, they didn't know of any reason not to, but they haven't. So, all right. I'm just trying to get this nailed down.
Could I mention it to you then, Pat? Okay, so we go Mansfield to up Sherwood to Canal, and along Canal to the bridge, and then we turn left onto the bridge and go up through Joseph, Main, or up Main to Joseph, and out County Road 8. That's the one route.
All right.
We can cut across. We can cut across the main street of Bolton, and that will go right up Canal to Boyd. And that'll hit 36. There's the Tim Hortons there. There's a grocery store there. And we can turn over onto the Bridge of Heroes and we can head up that way to the Jug City. 49, I guess, is an access road from the trailhead in the 5 Points coming down. That doesn't mean they'll be able to go up the east side of 49 right now, but they definitely can come into Bobcage in that route too.
Okay. Does everybody understand what we want to do?
Yes.
Just a quick question. So you're going to use Bolton as an alternate route as opposed to William?
No.
Yeah, okay. I was just making sure. I just said Bolton would be probably not your greatest choice. Maybe William would give you the access, and it avoids that intersection at Canal Road. That place is a travesty most of the time anyway, with that swing bridge and the multi-directional indicator. So anything to get away from there, you might be better off.
Please ask Yolanda to clean.
It's an intersection. It's a flashing light that allows you to turn onto the bridge, Jason. But it does allow you to get some resorts that are along Canal and accessing it. I don't think it being an issue. It's a stopping point for sure.
All right. Okay. We're down to the last 15 minutes of this meeting, so let's try and get things done. Okay, so we've already agreed on 36 down to King Street. We're going to come across King Street to Mansfield. We're going to use Sherwood to Canal Street. Go across the bridge, and then that's already in part of the plan. Why are we using, we're going to use William Street to hook up to,
You can put William, which is to the east of Bolton,
yeah, I know where it is.
as an access point between King and Canal. Sure,
Okay.
why not put that?
All right,
Yeah.
okay, and then Boyd, okay, so I'm good there. I'll send everybody a copy of this before I send it in tomorrow, so that everybody will actually see what I'm talking about to make sure I'm right. Now, the only suggestion I'm gonna make is if you're coming down 36, that you, Duke Street is the extension of City Road 8.
Mhm.
I would include Duke Street in that, so somebody coming off of 36 that wants to go over that doesn't want to bother even coming into town, just wants to scoot over, or vice versa, somebody coming from Finland Falls that wants to get across the top and scoot up the trail, has that option of avoiding town completely. Is that okay?
Yep, that's good. That's a good wide
Yeah.
wide street, very wide.
Okay. Does everybody understand what the suggestions are, what the recommendation is? Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Jason, seconded by Don. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion is carried. Okay, so the last part of the agenda is, and I've already explained it to you, in order to meet our timelines, I will do this by memo. It'll be in the minutes, but the minutes won't be approved until whenever, but the minutes will reflect what we've just had a conversation about. I will create a memo today / tomorrow morning with these recommendations in. I will copy everybody here on what my memo is going to say. And we will forward these recommendations for the June 1st Committee of the Whole meeting. Any further questions? Anything else for the good of the ORV committee? I want to thank everybody for your patience. This has been a fun meeting. And I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn there, moved by Don, seconded by Tracy. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion's carried. Thank you. Have a great weekend. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
You.
Thank you.